welcome back to the Des Bro Show. There's a lot of conspiracies and a lot of stories when it comes to giants and a lot of lore.
Yes.
I'm talking about movies, stories, history, conspiracies, all in
Urban
one.
legends.
Urban legends, Bigfoot, you name it, man. You got the gargoyle, not the gargoyle. What's his name? The guy with the one eye.
Cyclops?
Cyclops. You got that. He was a giant. You got David and Goliath. I mean, it goes. You hear about giant. They talk about giants in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many stories and groups of giants that we could talk about, but we're going to focus on one today.
Yes. And of course, giant stuff could be debunked, such as you talked about the Cyclops. Did you know that they mainly thought the elephant skull was a Cyclops
No
skull?
way.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So that's where
I didn't know that.
that's where the lore of
The
Cyclops kind of came from.
Ah.
So with the
Or Minotaurs?
I don't know where Minotaurs come. I don't know where that one came from, but I know for sure that
I'm just saying they're kind of like a group of giants if you think about it.
True that they
In a
are.
way.
They are. But yeah, that's where the Cyclops urban legend, where a lot of people kind of based it off of the elephant skull.
Interesting.
Interesting stuff. Check out an elephant skull when you can.
Mm.
So, what I want to talk about is a story known as the Giant of Kandahar.
Okay.
Okay.
I might not know the story.
Okay. So
So many of them.
this happened in 2002. All right.
Is this Iraq?
Iraq.
Ah, I love
This is
one. Okay,
Iraq.
let's go for it,
This is
man.
Iraq. Okay.
Refresh my memory here.
Yes. So, what happened was in 2002, a pilot was flying to an extraction point to pick up a group of Green Berets.
Mhm.
On his way down there, there was two pilots. Right, they have to have two ships, but there was two helicopters going down there to pick up their guys, and of course the pilot didn't think anything of this. It's like, we're going to pick up our guys, and we're going to probably pick up more people. He gets there, and he notices something, that they are actually picking up cargo. And what he saw of this cargo was, he could barely see it because he was, again, he's not on the front, dude. He's not out there putting it up. He's flying the plane, so he has to stay where he's at. He can't leave his position. But he saw this thing with which looked like a large man. That it looked like he was in a fetal position, and again, this thing is covered. And he saw the feet and hands sticking out, 6 fingers, 6 toes. And he didn't know if it was really like white, like if the person was Caucasian or a darker skin tone, because it could have just been pale, because the thing was dead. And when he lifted it, it was about, by his assumption, when flying off the plane and how heavy it was, you have to put everything out of account. You have to put the pallet that it's on top of, and then picking it up and extracting it. And from what he could tell, it was about 1,100 pounds, over 1,100 pounds. And so he's flying it up, right? And, he flew it to where it was supposed to be at, and that's all. He didn't know anything of it. And later on, rumors started speaking up about a giant was killed by a group of soldiers. Green Berets, in fact. And so, over the years, the story just kind of became an urban legend within the military.
Okay.
But later on, it started going through the states. In 2008, that's when it really went global.
Okay.
That's when a lot of people started learning this. And in 2008, that's when the pilots started coming out, being like, yes, I flew it, and I couldn't really see what it was, but, it was it looked like a giant man. And from what he could see from the fetal position, his assumption was it was about the fight 13 feet. That's how tall he said it was. 13 to 12 feet. That's what he said. And so later on, more stuff came out, until finally somebody came out known as K. This person came out again. This pilot doesn't want to know who he is. He's just known as pilot. Take it what you wish. You could be like, oh, that's just fake, but that's what people are known him as, pilot. And then there was another guy who known as K, who was actually there on at the point. So the whole story that goes, and this is what K tells them, that there was a unit somewhere in Afghanistan in the area of Kandahar, yeah. And hold on, this place was called Kandahar, right?
I have no idea.
Oh, hold on one sec.
Kandahar?
Kandahar? Hold on. how does I say that? How do you say that? Kandahar.
Kandahar.
Kandahar. Okay.
Kandahar. I don't know.
Kandahar.
Who cares, man?
Okay.
At this
So,
point, who cares?
well, that's I'm just making sure that I'm saying it right. So the Giant of Kandahar, what happened was that these Green Berets were sent to find a unit that went missing. Now, most of the time when things go like this, when things go downhill, the unit mainly calls, hey, we're being attacked. We need backup, this, that, here, and there. But they haven't heard of this unit in a very long time. So finally, they bring a group of badasses, Green Beret badasses, to go down there
I thought you mentioned this
and get their boys.
Okay.
I talked about the pilot. Now I'm talking about the actual what they're going to too. So they're going down there, right, to get to go down there, and they're down there for days, and they can't find any leads. Well, finally one day they find this hill that looks like a goat trail, and they decide, hey, why don't we just search in this area? So they go up this goat trail, bit by bit, and the more they go up, they start noticing things. They start finding equipment, military equipment, helmets, clothing torn up. They find the comms, that calls. They find those things, and they look destroyed and dismantled, and they're just like, what the heck happened here? Mm-hmm. So they're like, whatever happened has to be up that hill. So right there and then, they get together and they just get their guns ready, and they're ready to go up there, prepared for anything. All their training just kicks in. So they go up there and they're prepared, and they're going higher and higher. And the more they get higher, the more they start finding different things. They start finding bones. They don't know if it's human bones. They don't know if it's goat or animal bones, but they start finding bones, and they start going up higher and higher and higher. And as soon as they get up to the top, it's like a plane, like it's flat. And so there they see caves, like 3 caves. And they kind of go over there, and they kind of again, they're steadying themselves, and they're going down there, and they're going to see the caves. And they see that it's sloped. And so when they see how sloped it was, they're like, okay, let's not go down there. We're not going to go down there because anything can happen. So they kind of back up a bit. And as soon as they back up and they start looking at the cave, they see something moving kind of. Out of nowhere, a spear just shoots out and hits one of the guys. His name is Dan. Boom, hits him. Dan falls right there. And out from the cave, they saw a tall man, red hair, red beard, 6 fingers, 6 toes. And when he came out, he was wearing animal skin clothing. Like it was torn, like a caveman. Like how you see stories of cavemen and all that stuff. He wears like that. And he gets out and he starts yelling like a battle cry, like an ugly battle cry. And as soon as he does that, they get their equipment out, and he starts running, and he's going towards Dan where he threw the spear at. So he's running towards Dan. In 30 seconds, they just take him out. Guy full of lead. 30 seconds. That's all it took to take him out.
Damn.
But you got to think about this. 30 seconds is a lot. Any second could count. If he goes to that spear, they're all done.
Yeah.
So that's actually, you could say that's quick, but
I mean, they're Green Berets.
They're Green Berets, highly trained, but exactly. And if you think about that, 30 seconds
still is
a very long time. I mean, look at boxers. How long are they in the ring, and it feels like a lifetime?
3 minutes.
Exactly. So that right there, they took him out. They got him full of holes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I used to be a amateur boxer, and it did feel like it took forever.
Exactly.
There was moments I was like, damn, when is this gonna end? When is this round gonna end, dude? Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, beat up, so especially for my opponent, because I left him bloody and bruised, but that's another story.
Yeah. Okay. So there's that right there, so you have to put that in account. And they took him out. They get the comms. The pilot comes there. They pick up the giant and they leave. And there they have them write these forms, confidentiality forms that you can't talk about this. But before they bring that, they want to know, because before you write the confidentiality forms, you need to come up with a story of what happened. You have to put it on print. And they all said the same thing. Spear went out.
Giant dude
came out. Dan had passed as soon as the spear hit him. That on impact, he's dead. He was gone.
That must have been a giant spear.
Yes, it was a very giant spear. Yeah. And so they took him out, and he says Dan's gone, and 6 fingers, 6 toes. It all lined up. Yeah, battle yell.
So who came and picked up the body?
The helicopter. They got it right there, and they just lumped on there. And so
sent them to the Smithsonian.
So check this out. It gets more right here. Listen to this. There's more to it. There's more to it. So check this out. So they're there and they're writing their forms, and they put down what happened. That all that's put all the information. They look at it and they're saying, you can't put that down. But that's what happened. No, you can't put that down. Change your story. So they had to change the story.
Wow.
So the whole story, and then it wasn't when they wrote the story, not when they first told it. They didn't get the disclosure form before. They got it after they had to change the story. After they just after they changed the story, then they had to write a disclosure form. So Kay basically in 2008, when the story hit the world, Kay was like, "I'm done with this. I'm just gonna tell people what happened," and so that's when the story came out.
Crazy.
Back to the pilot. And check this out. Now, I'm happy you brought that up about the Smithsonian. The pilot said that most likely the body was sent to a facility in Ohio. Supposedly, there's a facility in Ohio. I don't know if you heard about this, but there's a facility in Ohio that deals with the paranormal.
I didn't know that.
They work with aliens and all that stuff.
Holy crap. And where? Idaho?
Ohio.
Ohio.
Now, it could be Idaho too, but I believe it is Ohio. So yeah, and that was the story of the Giant of Kandahar.
That's where they took the body.
That's where they took the body,
it's
supposedly.
Because like I always hear different stories about giants with red hair. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've heard about those stories too.
Yes, it's always different nationalities too. And
I think here in the Native Americans saw.
Here in Native America,
they knew of, or they came overseas or something, right? Or they came, or were they native here? Well, what's the story with that? I really don't know.
So
the giants with red hair.
So no one could really say. All we could really know is that they live in caves, and they're whatever area they're at, they've probably been there way longer than any other group.
And if you think about it, maybe that's where people get confused when they see Bigfoot. Maybe it's just a giant hairy dude.
That too.
Yeah.
It could be that.
I mean, they don't talk like freaking cavemen,
And here's the thing.
Or they have their own dialect.
And it's funny that you brought up here in the States. Yeah. There's islands that supposedly have traces and stories of.
Oh, frick.
And you know what?
I gotta look into
and
that,
you know what? Just saying it right now. I'll talk about those stories some other time. But it's always described the same way: 6 fingers,
yeah,
6 toes, about 12 feet to 13 feet, 12 to 13 feet, red hair. They're always described like that. Now, there's also another group of giants that are also discovered that they also talk about too, in which they are blonde.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
They're blonde ones, but supposedly, I guess they're both considered different. I guess the blonde ones are considered more elf-like, more elegant, and the red ones are more like the aggressive, like dwarven.
Type. Just like regular humans,
Yeah.
You got the red. You got the kids, the soulless red-headed kids, and then you got the beautiful blondes, they're like the shining stars, the Barbies and everything,
Yeah.
It's kind of like us here, the gingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, soulless. Sorry, redheads. I had to do it to you.
I'm pretty sure they get enough of that stuff all the time. So
yeah, you guys have red hair, you should have thick skin as well.
If you enjoyed the joke, then thank you. All right, and that's all I have to say about the Giant of Kandahar. We'll talk about more giants next time, and we'll see you guys later.